Hello and welcome to News 9. I am Shubhayan Chakravarti. And before India's market tour of South Africa, we have so many questions regarding the tour, whether the Omicron variant will pose a tension among the cricket boards, how the CSA will going to manage this entire tour. It is going to be a hectic schedule for the India and Australia, South Africa teams as well. And to discuss everything and to clear the air around the uncertainties regarding the tour, I have CSA's Mr. Lawson Naidoo joining me. Thank you so much for doing this, Mr. Naidoo, and welcome to News 9.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
So, personally, how much are you looking forward to host India for the Test and the ODI series in South Africa?
Well, this is a big tour. Would be a big tour at any point in time, but it is a tour that also marks the 30th anniversary of cricketing relations between India and South Africa. When South Africa was readmitted to the ICC back in 1991, the first tour that we went on was to India in 1991, and India reciprocated the following year by coming on a full 4-test, 7 ODI tour of South Africa in 92-93. So, this is an important milestone. It's a series that we've long been looking for. And we're confident that even though the series has now been curtailed by excluding the T20s from this series, that the test matches and the one-day internationals will go ahead as planned, and it will be a tightly contested series, I have no doubt.
Absolutely, and Indian team, mind you, sir, have been creating some historic records on the road, and South Africa remain one of the lands where they are yet to conquer a test series. So it is going to be a fascinating contest.
Well, yes, indeed, I know, and I know that the BCCI are looking at this as the final frontier. This is the last country that an Indian team that needs to try and secure victory. It's a very, very strong Indian team that is coming out here, but we're ready. We've got a good tempo in our squad, and we're looking as South African cricket fans looking forward immensely to what is going to be a very competitive series.
Absolutely. Mr. Naidoo, coming to the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 virus, we live in an uncertain world. We have seen so many tournaments, so many series getting hampered by this specific virus. But how did the board and its member react to the development regarding this new variant? Did you once fear that the tour might get cancelled at any point?
Well, I think it's important to state, there's been a lot of hysteria around the new Omicron variant. The first point to make is that the variant was identified by South African scientists working in laboratories that studied it and were able to identify the different variants. And that is very different from saying that the variant originated in South Africa. That's something, it's a myth that we've needed to dispel. But even if that were not the case, and the variant did indeed come from South Africa, the reality is now that the Omicron variant is prevalent in many, many countries across the world. And the World Health Organization itself has said that closing borders is not a solution to trying to stem the spread of the virus. There are other more normal mechanisms of, wearing face masks, social distancing, and sanitizing that are much more effective ways of spreading the disease. And so what we as Cricket South Africa have done and have ensured is that the environment into which the Indian cricket team comes is one that can be as safe as possible. There was always going to be a biosecure environment in place for the full tour. We recently had the India A side out in South Africa that played 3-4 day games here under a BSC environment, returned home with no issues arising. So I think Cricket South Africa is very well equipped to ensure the protection of the Indian players and our players, as well as the match officials, to allow the series to go ahead.
Absolutely, sir. And what were the sort of discussions you had with the BCCI regarding the tour? As you said, the India A continued their tour, and it was a big move made by the BCCI to not call back that team and go ahead with the tour. But what were the discussions mainly with the BCCI and its board members?
Well, firstly, we must acknowledge the support of the BCCI in keeping the India A team here. they were satisfied with the assurances that we gave them that this South African medical team are of the highest quality and standard, and ensured that the environment was indeed safe. And we engaged with the BCCI on many occasions over the previous week to assure them of the readiness of Cricket South Africa for this tour, the fact that our medical teams have been on top of the issue. We've been consulting with our own epidemiologists in South Africa about the spread of the virus and what additional measures, if any, we needed to take to ensure that this tour can go ahead. So I think once we relayed all of that information to the BCCI, they were satisfied that this could be a tour that could go ahead in the safest of environments, bearing in mind that, globally, we've become accustomed to this. Teams have been playing cricket in a bubble environment for well over a year now. We know that the Indian team were in England in the English summer a few months ago, when there were high levels of transmission of the virus. And that tour went ahead, albeit that the final test of the series didn't take place. But life must go on, and we put in place the safety measures to ensure that cricketers can continue to do what they do.
Absolutely, and sir, Cricket South Africa has always mentioned, has always emphasized that their BAC is one of the strongest and one of the most protected environments in the entire world. And we have seen CSA, successfully going ahead with many series, many bilateral series in the last couple of years. But can you please point us out? Can you take us through to what sort of arrangements will be made for the India tour? Specifically, we have already seen in a press release that there's a clear mention that it will be played under the strictest of secure environments.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the protocols within our BSc environments on a daily basis, trying to identify any gaps that may exist, where we can strengthen some of those protocols and operations. And that's an ongoing process, and we will continue to do that, as I say, to ensure the safety of both sets of players and officials. So the BSc environments, as you rightly pointed out, we've hosted Pakistan and Sri Lanka earlier this year. We've conducted some of our domestic tournaments within a BSc environment. So the experience that has been developed over those games has ensured that we've learned from those, and we always learning and strengthening those things. So we will make sure that every effort is made to ensure the safety of the players, and we're very confident that we can host a successful series. It's obviously an important series for Cricket South Africa.
Absolutely,
as I
sir.
say, it's a historic 30-year anniversary.
Absolutely, sir. And one of the biggest thing about hosting India for other countries is the financial might it brings along with itself. Biggest of superstars are in India, and we all know that India has the biggest of following when it comes to cricket. But how big is this series for South Africa when it, in regards of maintaining financial stability within the Cricket South African board?
Well, it's a critical series from us from a financial and commercial perspective. As you rightly point out, an Indian tour, is a big money spinner. It brings in significant sponsorship revenue. It brings in significant broadcasting revenue. And so, like all cricket boards around the world, we've been impacted by the pandemic over the last 18 to 20 months. And we've lost a lot of cricket, and we've lost a lot of income. So the boost that this tour will give to the finances of Cricket South Africa are something that we desperately need. And from that basis, we're very pleased that it's going ahead. And we're also confident that the 4 T20 games that were scheduled will be able to be held before the end of the current cycle, and hopefully sometime during the course of next year. And then, Cricket South Africa will be in a position where the financial forecast that we have in terms of this Indian tour will have been fulfilled, and all of the revenue will flow to us.
Absolutely, sir. My last two questions for you, and I'm coming to this question after having a lot of questions from the South African fans, in regards to whether they will be allowed inside the stadium, because I have been told that there are thousands of fans waiting to witness the likes of Virat Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah, Rishabh Pant take the field. So, is there any good news for them, or can we expect a good news for them in the future?
Well, unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have a clear answer to that question. Insofar as the regulations stand at the moment, we're allowed to have only 2,000 spectators per game. And we're obviously awaiting further guidance from the South African government in that regard. We've made representations to the government around admissions of spectators, but obviously with the case numbers rising now in South Africa as we enter a fourth wave here, we will be guided by whatever decision the government takes from a public safety and health perspective. But we certainly, will make every effort to ensure that, even if spectators are not allowed into the stadiums, that the series will be such that there'll be a dynamic interaction with people who perhaps will be watching on television or through other media forums to really enjoy the series and, and give the fans what they've long been waiting for.
Absolutely, sir. My final question, as you already said that it is going to be the 30th anniversary of a special moment in South Africa, cricket South Africa history. So is there any special plan when India comes to your land and before the series goes ahead or during the series? Is there any special plan to commemorate this occasion?
Indeed, there is. We are planning, and because the dates have changed, we're still in the stage of planning, but the intention is that we will be hosting a special event before the third test match in Cape Town early in January as a special occasion to mark 30 years of friendship between Indian and South African cricket, and looking forward to strengthening those ties between our two boards and between our players. So Cricket South Africa will be hosting a lunch on Sunday, the 9th of January, with the representatives of the BCCI that will be in South Africa, and with the sprinkling of players that have represented both countries over the last 30 years.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Naidoo, for sharing your details, the insights on the upcoming India versus South Africa tour. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and all the best wishes from our side when it comes to a successful hosting of India tour of South Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.